All right, this is gonna be a super fast video. So we're gonna be graphing inequalities today. So the symbols to use an open dot for less than or greater than. If you have a closed dot, or if you're gonna use a closed dot, you are gonna use less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. So, kind of make sure you know the differences between the open and closed dot. The closed dot means you're, including that number, so that's why you close it up, you fill it in because you're including that number. The open dot, you put a circle around it because you are not including that number in your list of values that make it true. So looking at yesterday, if we had that equal sign, this was true if you set these equal to each other because we had that equal sign. So on my graph here, you would have the closed dot at that 2, which means it was included. But if you have 2 is greater than 2, we don't have that half equal sign. So your statement, right, your math statement that you're making says don't include the 2. So that's why we would put a circle around it. All right, so enough talking. Let's do it. When the variable's on the left side, you're going to use that inequality like an arrow pointing you where to shade. Okay, this is important. Make sure you make stupid amounts of underlining so that you know it has to be on the left. Or if you even want to box it in like this so that you don't make any boo-boos, that's okay too. But make it so that you know it has to be on the left. We have n is less than or equal to 4. So this is telling me right here, this information is telling me to do a closed dot at 4. So I'm going to do a big fat closed dot at 4, make it super exaggerated, and then see how it kind of looks like an arrow that's pointing to my left? That means I'm going to shade all of my left. And make sure I can tell which way you're shading. Okay, so that inequality is done because it's saying n is less than 4 or less than or equal to 4. So it can be 4, but it can also be every single number after that would make it true. In this next one here, we have k is greater than -4. So this tells me to use an open dot at -4. And the one before told me to use a closed dot. So at -4, here's my open dot. I'm going to make sure it's very obvious for the blind teacher here to see. That was a hint to make sure it's super obvious. It's either an open dot or a closed dot, y'all. And this inequality kind of looks like an arrow pointing to the right, so I'm going to shade to the right. And again, it's only because my variable's on the left side that it works this way, okay? Now, let's look on the other side. But what's important is we're going to be drawing a graph for each inequality. Make sure to flip your variable to the left side. And we did some practice with that yesterday about how to flip. So let's look at number 14. So I want my variable to be on the other side. So I'm going to rewrite this p and -4, flip them around. And not only do you flip around the p and -4, but you flip around your inequality so the mouth is still open to the p. Now I can graph this on my number line. So this tells me to use an open dot at -4. And I'm going to make it very obvious, especially if I think my teacher's blind. Make it look like an open dot. And I look at the one I fixed, not this one. Look here. And this is telling me to shade in that direction. So I'm going to shade to the right. Let's look at 15. So my variable's on the wrong side here for graphing, so let me rewrite it. So a and 1 flip sides, flip this guy. So this is telling me to be, oh, look, another open dot. Okay, open dot at 1, making it very obvious it's an open dot at 1. But now this is telling me to shade to my left this time. So I'm going to shade to the left. Okay, we don't use this. That's very important. I'm guaranteeing I'm going to see somebody make that boo-boo. Okay. Next, we're going to write an inequality for each of the graphs. So here we were making the graph. Now we're going to make the inequality. So you can use whatever letter your heart desires, but I'm a big fan of the letter X. So I'm going to have the letter X. And let's see, we're at the number 3. Okay. And it's a closed dot, so that means I'm going to have an equal sign underneath, a half equal sign. Now, it's pointing this way. It's shaded on this side, right? It's shaded this way. So that means I need to make my mouth point in that direction. And there's my answer. For extra credit, maybe your teacher will talk about how'd you write it flip side. I don't know. In this one, again, I'm partial to X, so I'm gonna use the letter X. We have an open dot at 5, so I'm gonna have my 5 here, and it's shading in that direction, so I'm gonna point in that direction. And since it's open, I don't need to put a line underneath, so now I am done, okay? The rest is all you. Feel free to go forth and do your thing if you know how to do this. If you have any questions, I'm sure your teacher is going to help you out.